All right, guys. So Emperor Sir is back, and first of all, I'll start off by saying, if you saw that latest rant, and Emperor Sir is back in his maroon and pink, you know, colors of royalty. I mean, people have it so ass backwards, man. People talk about pink being gay and feminine. Some of the most masculine men in the world, including Donald Trump, he wears pink ties. I mean, if it looks good on you, it looks good on you. Colors, and in addition, all this classification garbage is just that total garbage. Oh, you know what I really love? When I have my phone on airplane mode, I'm doing this on the phone and nobody can contact me. I hate it. You know, people have this thing of they won't text and they'll keep calling and they'll call like 10,000 times and most people I just block, but some people you can't block. You know and well, it's like, dude, just text it over. And of course these same people, when you call them, well, never, they'll complain about you not answering phones, about you, oh, we went dark. Emperor Sir, I used to do these dark videos. Ah, wow. I manifested the light. Just magic. Uh, anyway, I just did this and, you saw it. I mean, you guys troll and say, I can't manifest things. But I'm sitting here on the couch. There are three lights above me. Okay? One just went kaput. And then it came on. How? Y'all talk about, he doesn't know how to manifest, like this, that, but I give you my results, and I've given you one right here. Uh, you know, but anyway, yeah, and people, so this is following on from that TikTok rant of mine, which, man, honesty gets. I was pissed when I made that video. I still am, but I'm trying to be calm. I'm trying to be calm. I never am. I'm always amped because I have 35 cups of extra strong black coffee, and because I got faggots all around me. But society in general, not just society in general. It's so gay and cucked, but. I'm trying to be very calm here. Maybe I'm not succeeding fully, but honesty gets views. Like people can tell when you really, have something to say. And these same people that constantly call, and you're like, I'm doing something, and they won't wait a minute. And most people I just block, and this is why I love my phone on airplane mode. Even my mom asked me, like this morning she called up and she's like, why don't you answer your phone ever? And I'm like, I was on the throne. I was in the bathroom, my favorite place, as you saw the other day. And I take my phone there, but it's on silent. I don't answer phones, and it's nothing that can't be texted. The reason people want to call you is they just want to yell at you. And this isn't just my mom, it isn't society, it isn't, all these, anybody, all these people that I spoke about last night that I brutally and ruthlessly cut out of my life. A former friend of mine, he'd call me up and he wanted to, but when I called him back, he was always too busy, or, then you have idiots that'll call you because I'm sexy, charming, intelligent, handsome, and I'm very entertaining. But the minute you stop providing free entertainment for these motherfuckers and actually ask them to reciprocate, then they get pissed off and they'll start, because you're better than them and they can't stand it. It happened with a friend of mine who then, former friend of mine who's currently spreading lies about me, which is fine. Then you have people, and we'll talk about all this, that any remotely masculine man, let me just drill it down, any remotely masculine man is guilty by default of everything. Nobody listens to, it's like, you say things, people will just ignore it. So textually, they can't ignore it. And that's why they hate texting. Plus text, I was once told this by a certain person that, it's one thing to talk, but it's quite another thing to write your thoughts down in a logical and concise manner. However, I would disagree at this point of like, if you can talk really well, you might not cover everything in your talk. Like, in our talks, we don't cover everything. But if you're entertaining, people love you, if you're, but you got to do both really well. And, that's why, a lot of these videos have writing, and I really drill it down to the point where other people tell me, there's nothing more left to say. Like, because I said it all, But we'll talk about all this. It's been a while since I did these rants, and I love to, rant. Then let's start with this. And by the way, I'm not gonna name and shame. I'm quite beyond all that. People are getting so hopeless, and I've stopped. Unless it's somebody, some new guy, or other than that, it's gotten, these faggots. Anyway. Yeah, you have people that go on that talk on the internet, and then you have people that listen to them, though they don't have to, and they're like, if you feel the need to get on the internet and talk about this, I'm like, then don't. If you feel the need to listen to me, then you shouldn't be commenting because you're an idiot, but because you're listening, right? But, the fact of the matter is this, that, people get on the internet. It's that simple. You have all sections of society on the internet. Nobody says a word when you get on TikTok and you see girls simulating sex with dogs. Nobody says a word where all you see is girls offering rub downs and all this, And TikTok's supposed to be child friendly and all this, Nobody says anything. But a guy like me gets on the internet and just talks, some brutal home truths in a very so-called misogynistic, nasty manner, and guys go up in flames. It's like, how dare we say that, But I'll tell you my own reason, and I suspect a lot of guys, would agree, because nobody lets you talk and be logical. If you're a woman, the whole world will cock to you and listen to you. But if you are a man, a remotely masculine man, by the way, if you're a cock, your wife may allow you some leeway and she'll listen to you like a pet dog, I'm going to tell you one thing. With your woman, she's either your dog, your bitch, or you're her bitch. It's that simple. There's no in the middle. A last girlfriend, many years ago, I used to, and I didn't even know this, I used to pat her head like this. And she was like, oh, honey, it's so relaxing. And I'm like, okay. Because I just did it. She had this beautiful long blonde hair, or maybe it wasn't that one. Maybe it was the Chinese. I can't remember, 550 plus. I can't fucking remember. But, and she was like, now I understand why dogs like it. And, but I'll say one thing, dogs are infinitely more loyal than any bitch could ever be, You guys go up in flames about me using the term bitch. Women use the term bitch, witch, whore about each other all the time, And they use these, men are animals, men are dogs. Why the fuck can women do it and men can't do it? I don't see any reason. Answer that, if you're that pissed. Why do I talk on the internet? Because, these things need to be said. You write it down. People are gay fucking idiots that, it's too long to read. It's an eye-watering post. And I'm like, if your eyes fucking water at logic, and, then you're an idiot. But if these long posts agreed with everything, these idiots say, then they'd read it 10,000 times, But you know what? They still read it. They just say they don't read it. I still remember in China, I was doing, and still, I do, my fitness stuff and all. And, at that point, I was married. And I still remember at that point, which was, I think, in 2010 or 11 or maybe, 14, actually. I was like, at the time, my wife, not now, at the time, not now, at the time. I want to say this because although there's no legal divorces yet, because she won't give me, certificate and all that. Even though I paid for it, she won't give it. But and the photos and all that. But I did get a letter of separation, so you can say what you like. You can whine all day long, but it's a legal separation. That's what it is. Anyway, so she was like, "Oh yeah, the old man in China, the 500 steps a day." I posted all these, on the rawmukherjee.com, website, and you idiots say there's no fitness information on the site. Dude, there's so much, fitness information on the site that you could spend your whole life reading it. I just did a search. We have a new search bar because a lot of you have requested, and, fair enough. There's some problems with it, but we'll fix it on Zero Excuses Fitness. And, you just type in handstand push-ups. You'll get like 1,300 results. I challenge you to point out one single person on the internet talking about fitness like I do. One single person. And if they ever did, then they're fat, gay, and cocked now. So, everybody sells out ultimately. I mean, it is really heart-rendering to see, guys that used to promote good stuff before. I mean, I didn't agree with everything they said, and they were kind of hypocritical because some of them couldn't do one single pull-up and would write books on pull-ups. But at least, the majority of their stuff was, decent stuff. It wasn't anything spectacular, but decent stuff, Now, they're all pandering to the get-it-easy crowd, They'll hold one leg up like this and they'll say that's warrior walking. No, dude, that's like a dog taking a fart. That's what it is. My ex once, that same wife, she once told me my dad farts like that, I don't know why she felt the need to say that. Anyway, so back to why do I talk on the internet? Because, society is so fucking gay, man. And unless you have the right kind of person around you, and it's very difficult to find. Like I spoke about, most guys have no idea of how a woman thinks, and most women don't either. I mean, they just do, by default. And it's so hard, to explain these basic concepts of masculinity, the basic concept fitness. And even the guys that are fit, I mean, I speak a lot about fitness and women being the core things. If you're not good at any of those two things, you're not truly masculine. It's that simple. And if you're not a bad boy, or with a mustache, some girls like a mustache. I'm not even going to get into that. But I never did that. I, stiff upper lip. But I'm not going to go there. But, it's amazing how many guys are, out of shape. First of all, if you're out of shape, I don't respect you. Fuck off. I don't want you in my life. If you're fat and constantly whining about, and you won't do I drop down, I get to 500 squats a day without even thinking about it. It's so easy. There's just 250, I could show you right now. I just did, 20 push-ups. Those things add up, I spoke about this, exercise sandwiches, way before, the pandemic and all this, and way before people started to talk about it. And, but doing it forever. You guys are too fucking lazy. And, it's too boring. Well, if it's too boring, is this too boring, sexy Habib? That's what you want. But anyway, so it's very hard to find that right network, I do have a couple of people that the vast majority of my time in that regard is spent deleting and blocking people, We'll talk about that. Well, I actually spoke about that in my last post and in my TikTok, and I'm not going to mention the guy because, if he wants to be that way, he's got the choice to be that way. But, if he asks me questions, then I'll tell him, I'm sick and tired of people asking you these garbage questions and you're expected to fucking respond with politically correct bullshit. why I talk on the internet, huh? I mean, that alone should tell you, as you get it out, you have sometimes you just rant a little, but there's always a point to it. When you finish this video, you'll understand why we all talk on the internet. Sometimes it just feels good, but you have a valid point in there, and people that want to listen will listen, and it feels good because, what are you going to do talking to people that think it's their way or the highway? And as you get more and more masculine, more and more sensible, more and more, away from the garbage, the bullshit, which I always was, now it's just ascended to a different level. Light on again. Hey. The manifestation anyway. As you get to that level, you just don't want to. I mean, you have all these thoughts in your head and you got to put them together. So that's why you have these long ass, all this long ass content and all that. And it's all perfectly logical because when you write, you can go back and sometimes re edit, right? I don't really do a lot of editing, but you can do that. However, sorry, my beautiful knee, so we'll do that. Yeah. Okay, however, and my knee's not, okay, yeah. Then you have garbage people that talk about, my knee being this, that. Dude, David Goggins, he is in pain for, like fucking, 20 minutes of his daily run. I mean, that happens, I mean, I'm in pain. I mean, I wake up and I don't want to fucking do squats. I don't want to do, and not that I need to be sorry for, my foot showing. I mean, it's such a beautiful foot anyway, But I'm just saying, I have a set of strength. That's what it is. I don't want to wake up in the morning and, do my 100 squats, my 20 push-ups, any of that, I don't want to do all of that or, uh, I mean, a lot of you guys have so many of these hidden fetishes. And he's showing his feet, and put your feet up and talk. I mean, I remember in college, people would do that. Right in front of the professor who didn't give two shits. It's just feet. Get a fucking life. But anyway, I mean, I received a comment to that regard. Why can I see your body? What? Am I an astral being? You can't see my fucking body or what? But that's why you talk on the internet and you'll get, And then there's the practical aspect to it. It helps immensely business-wise. I mean, people that, rant on the phone all day long, the same old tired garbage, they never really get anywhere in life or anything, I mean, they keep talking to their friend and they get more and more frustrated because neither friend is actually working towards anything. And guess who they all talk about? Hubby porn star. They may not admit it, but that's what they do. And, then, okay, why do I talk on the internet? I've been threatened, and this has happened now 4 times by 4 different people. I'm gonna take you to court. Okay, let's be very rational. Please do. And I'm saying this to camera. I am going to watermark this. I am going to put my, the typical Empress watermark. It's mine. I mean, I don't have the writing and all that. But I will say this in court too. There is no, you can't take somebody to court for, having a fucking opinion. Everyone has an opinion, and if you want to say something on the internet, you say something. I mean, these same people talk about me all day long for 17 to 20 years. Some of these people have been spreading lies about me. I can't say one goddamn thing, and it just... and then I say one thing. I talk to one girl, I end up on the second page of the Times of India. I've always been that guy. I spoke about that, on the last video. But I talk about one thing, about these people, and I don't even attack them. I speak facts. They don't want those facts coming out. They want to hide those facts. But, it's my life. I got a right to talk on the fucking internet. So do you. I mean, some of these people have been spreading lies for years about, and there's actually more than four people in this regard. I'm not going to name and shame again because about him being gay, this, that, all this other garbage. I never said a word. I kind of enjoyed it, spread it. But I never said a word. I still don't say a word. You want to do what you like. It's your social fucking media or wherever the hell you spread your garbage. But let me tell you one goddamn thing. Nobody gives two shits. Nobody cares. I'm Habib Pornstar. I'm here in front of you. I'm sexy, charming, intelligent, charismatic, in the best shape, You got a problem with me? Get in the ring. You think I can't, take your girl right in front of your nose, bring her and I'll do it. That simple. And people get triggered when I say this, And, so yeah, I mean, if you want to take me to court for being honest, then please do. But these people never do. I don't know why. So then if you don't want to do it, don't threaten. You know, it's weird. Like, they keep making these threats and most of the time, you don't even say anything about these people. You don't take their names. You don't put out personal information. You don't do anything. And they still threaten you. You know why? Because they're pissed off that you're talking the truth in a manner that other people will listen to, and in a way that masculine men will listen to, the 1% that's remaining. And, give an inch, they take a mile, that kind of thing. And with these people, they just want to ignore all objective fucking reality. And they just want your opinion gone and censored. That's why we got banned for so many years, this, that. They even, one of the channels has lost its subscribers and all that story you've read about before. Well, that's why I talk on the internet, fitness-wise, and I did this TikTok video on, which you've seen. Those views just jumped up, it was like, if you're not going to be convinced, then I'm not, there's no point trying to convince people that never will be. That brick wall may have more fucking sense, and it usually does. Fitness-wise, let's talk about it real quick, or real slow. I don't know. I haven't ranted for so long. I want to rant. Let me rant. You love my rants anyway. So, fitness-wise, body weight, high rep training. See, I looked up and it works. Anyway, body weight, high rep training, exercise. Fitness-wise, pull-ups, push-ups. We have gone through all this so many times, my friend, my Habibi. But you refuse. But, I could, there's all this evidence. Me right in front of you, number one. Then there's written evidence. Then there's video evidence. Number four, even if you didn't believe what I had to say on any of these matters, look at other people. How did they get to be in top shape? Martial artists, boxers. And then these people will refuse to even acknowledge that point. And so that's when you realize these people do not want to acknowledge any sort of objective fucking reality. And they're losers, because you've given them you've given them written proof, you've given them all this. They don't want to acknowledge it, okay? Life-wise, and I'll talk a bit about, what I spoke about in the TikTok. Because, this guy, he contacts me, former friend, and, maybe still a friend, I don't know. And, this guy, he's fine. I got nothing against him. But he was asking about the situation with the daughter and this and that. And everybody, I mentioned my aunt contacts me about that, parents contact, like everyone contact me. And, but it's very simple. And I've explained this to everybody. I have no rights over her. And she's a feminist piece of trash that's ruined her own, daughter's life. But, and she's a feminist piece of garbage that, she had a kid for her own personal security. Nobody wants to acknowledge that fact. Number two, more importantly, she went off birth control without telling me, or that particular child would never have happened, Nobody wants to acknowledge that. And, well and good. You don't want to acknowledge that. I was told, why didn't you tell her to get an abortion? Well, why didn't she get one herself? I don't believe in abortions anyway. I don't believe in killing children. Unlike these liberals that want, I don't believe in that. I considered it for a split second, and then I was like, no, I was pissed. I just didn't tell her that she went off of birth control, but that doesn't mean it's the baby's fault. And it's life, That's just a belief I've always had. I've always been agnostic, not always Christian, but, I've always had that belief. The universe, it is what it is. But years later, after all the feminist garbage we've spoken about, they keep talking to me. It's like, the hitman analogy. There's a problem, you fix it. But they don't let me fix it my own way, number one, so I don't fix it. Number two, they keep contacting me because, this is what happens. Ultimately, it's always the guy's responsibility. And I keep saying, look, I've explained the situation to you. I don't even need to. You know it. They just, number one, want someone to complain to. And number two, more importantly, they want you to cock. Because let's face it, in any situation, there's an up and down, there's a give or take, and you're either up or you're down. It's that simple. And with a woman, you either cock to her or you own her. It's that simple. There's no middle ground. I am willing to rationally debate this, logically debate this, but you know what? When I rationally and logically debate this, and I told this guy, former friend, he was like, "Whoa, you need to adjust." No, I don't need to adjust for a goddamn thing. First thing you know, I've adjusted for so many years, and you're ignoring that. Second thing, he won't even read what I'm saying. I write all these texts and it's so disrespectful, but if you tell him, he'll just ignore it. He doesn't care. Oh, it's no big deal. Then don't ask me, I didn't even say anything, he was the one asking me. These people want you to fucking cock to women. And it's got nothing to do with red pill and all this garbage. Most of red pill is garbage these days anyway. These guys go home and they jerk off to women and then they talk about avoiding women. I don't do that. I have fucking OnlyFans addicts and all this. But then he kept saying, oh, I understand, but he doesn't understand a damn thing. He has no conception of how female minds operate. When you point out the brutal facts about it, he gets pissed off, or not really pissed off, but he won't listen. And his response, don't talk about me on the internet, or don't talk about me. Well, then, by extension, you shouldn't ask me these questions, because you're getting to say what you want, but you're taking my freedom of speech away, and you know what I got for that? Cowboy style 9mm. That's what I got. And it's that simple. I'm sick and tired of the left, trying to. Then they pretend to be Trump supporters, and, I'm sick and fucking tired of this. I don't want to mention him because I like the guy, he's not all bad, but, and it's like, you explain facts, and I explained it all again. It's a waste of time because he already knows it. You know what's the most surprising? And we'll talk about this too, how guys become total cucks after marriage. I've told you before, I've explained the concept so many times. That's a guy you should never marry because if a guy marries, then a switch goes off in her brain and she owns you. She's going to try and get you to cut your hair. She's going to try and make you fat. She's going to not let you do a goddamn thing. She's not going to let you go out and have a good time. She's not going to give you what you want. It's all going to be her. I've told you this, a switch goes off in their minds because women are biologically wired to monkey branch. This is so simple. Once they get the guide, and society supports this. So they've got what they wanted. They're cold-blooded psychopathic killers at the heart. And that's what it is. You just look at all these women having abortions. They kill their own fucking babies. You look at all these women that ruin their own kids by saying the dad is a nasty piece of shit, but they never tell them why. You have people, you have girls telling their little kids that he doesn't give us anything, blah, 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 That's not the kid's problem. You shouldn't be telling the kid that. Anyway, the fact of the matter is this, that so with this guy, a friend of mine, probably, I've explained all this, the most amazing and shocking part was selective amnesia, selective memory loss, and it had nothing to do with the tequila he was drinking. I told him, please drink tequila straight. So when I drink whiskey, which is not normal, who the fuck wants to put water? You got a hip flask, swig it. It triggers people brutally because most people can't do it. You give me a whole bottle of whiskey, I'll drink it straight right in front of you. You can't do it. Anyway, maybe not a whole bottle. Well, yeah, I will, but, give me enough. Maybe a couple of hours and I will, but not like that. Some people can, I guess. I don't know. And he made these same comments, although not to the extent I am. I remember him saying about that particular daughter that I don't want you to go home years later and then, go home by what that he meant, the wife at the time, and her not even recognize you, her hate you, blah, 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 And now that happens and, it's been very logically explained. Everything has been very, but he refuses to acknowledge it, and he did before. Now, at that time, he wasn't married. Then I pointed out examples from his own life, with other guys that I, spoke about in my TikTok. Listen to that, then I spoke about his own, at this time, wife, who I was accused of cheating with. I told him this, but there was no comment. He's like, dude, and he's like, no comment. It's like, I was accused of cheating with, I didn't cheat with her. I had, why I spoke to his wife? Because he told me to speak to his wife because he was too drunk, or his girlfriend at the time. Then I come back, this was a guy I sourced some stuff for. Then I come back, I tell my ex, at this time ex-wife, then wife, and her first comment, why are you talking to his girlfriend? I don't know how simple I can keep this because he asked me to talk to his girlfriend. That's why I'm doing it. I don't know her. I don't all I did was business, All I did was get stuff for them. I don't give two shits, It's like, it's business. Life is business. I said this. Life is a deal. Ultimately, everything is transactional. Fuck off. I don't know. Why are you talking to his girlfriend? Well, maybe because I wasn't talking to her. But I'm not going to talk to you. You want to do business with me, I'll talk to you all goddamn day long if you got a good idea. But if you're going to be an idiot, I'm not going to talk. And that's why, I talk on the internet. And, okay, one more thing. A lot of my list loves it. They're rather silent about it because nobody wants to be really, because I'm such that guy. Nobody really wants to say, "Oh, we love the Habib Milakovic, Empress." Because then somebody will ask them, he's a total misogynist. He calls women slaves, this and that. But he says dogs are infinitely more, even though it's all true. But and they love being slaves. They love being banged in bed 10,000 times, and they beg for it. Pry my legs open at 3 a.m. in the morning. But a lot of them watch it. I mean, I just looked at that latest TikTok, the views, and not on that platform, but another platform, and it's like that. Like my 9.2 inch, you know what? But, you know, so I pointed out some examples from this guy and that girl, what she said, and he was literally covering for her. He was like, "Oh, at that time she was, insecure and this, but now she's not. Yeah, now she's not because she owns you. You're cocked." Now, there's different levels of cocks. I mean, you can say what you like, but you're cocked. And of course, this guy is fat and out of shape, keeps complaining about my stuff on pull-ups, and, he thinks he can, he made this comment of, "I can lift you up and throw you across the room." Dude, you got to get a hold to me first, and you might be surprised. I mean, you're a good man. I mean, at a certain level. So you want to get in the ring, just please tell me. I'll get in the ring, uh, you know. And by the way, I'm not talking about FB here. Let's just leave it at that. But anyway, you know, uh, he can't do a single pull up. And, it's always these guys that have big ass bellies and that try, girls don't like them. Girls see a cock. That's what it is. I have never paid for a woman even once. 550 plus. Then they troll me, "Oh, but that woman had this, that woman had that." Dude, that woman that you say, first of all, these women are all extremely beautiful. They have a lot of money, so they have the choice of the man they want. If they truly didn't want me, they wouldn't, they have the money. They have, they have a cock husband who's bought them houses and cars. Why did they choose me? But they won't acknowledge that, these guys, they say, "Oh, they're over the hill, this, that, blah, blah, blah." Well, they're not. Secondly, cougars, you guys have no idea about the fact that cougars can be better than younger women in bed because they're traditionally looked upon as not desirable. That leads them to make themselves more desirable. And they will literally be wildcats in bed. Trust me, they're so frustrated and they're so, you get them in bed, it's totally yin and yang. This, spread that fish, and, you just go to town. I'm telling you, the feminists are the most, and the cougars are usually up front the most feminists, but they're the most frustrated, and, you get them in bed. It's very simple, but, it's always these guys that have big ass bellies, and, and then when you point this out, it's like, "Oh, I didn't know you thought this about me." Well, dude, number one, you don't let me talk. I mean, when I talk, you ignore it. So how the fuck? I mean, then he'll say, "No, I don't ignore it." Well, then why didn't you reply? Why didn't you address it? It's gay garbage like that. "I didn't know you thought that about me." Well, then, it was very simple. A lot of these guys, they say they have different body types. They say they're fat and, not fat, but big, and all this other garbage we've covered before. You don't need to, a lot of these guys, you don't need to read my stuff. Go do your weightlifting or whatever. Everything, but they look at my stuff, they read my stuff, and, then if you're coming to me with this sort of a comment on pull-ups, which is the most retarded comment you can ever fucking make, and then you come to me, this same guy actually came to me with this comment, "I think you could do a better job of teaching people." Dude, I'm looking you straight in the eyes when I say that. You cannot do one pull-up. You're fat and out of shape. These are just facts. And that's fine. Your choice. You're telling the world's best at pull-ups that you need to teach me. That's like and this guy's in China. And he teaches English, which makes sense because the English students in China, except with me, they all suck my cock. But and he knows that, and he hates it. But that's why I stopped teaching English in China, because they expect you to be a dancing monkey, and they expect you, when you pay somebody to teach you, he isn't doing you a favor. Okay, you may think you're doing him a favor by giving him money. Great, it's a transaction. But ultimately, he's the one with the knowledge. You don't tell a martial arts instructor how to instruct you on martial arts. Okay? You don't tell me how to teach you pull ups when you can't do one yourself. You got a big ass belly. You can't do that. I mean, in what world does that make sense? You can't do that yourself. You're telling me, like, it's so gay, it's all retarded garbage, and, same thing with women. These guys will tell you, oh no, my woman is different, every woman is different. No, they're all the same. And when you point out facts, so let's get back to it. Okay, so this guy completely chose to selectively ignore everything that I said about everything that he himself said, about the situation in the past, everything. And he's realized that he's married and cocked. He once made the statement about, I'm a saint. I'm like, well, okay, maybe a cocked saint. I mean, they all call me a seer. I showed you how to manifest. I mean, it's not as simple as looking up like this and showing my sexy neck. But, look, the fact of the matter is these people, and they won't listen. Everything has to be. I kept asking him, okay, you're saying I need to, cut to her in every fucking regard. With women, you give an inch, they'll take 10 country miles. It's that simple. That's how they operate, Then these guys will get back with, no, they respect men. They don't. Dude, no, they don't. Yeah, and then I asked him this question. If you had a harem, what would she say? And let's be honest, every man wants to sleep with other women. You can deny it. You can cope. You can whine about it. You can try and convince yourself that you don't. But if you didn't, you wouldn't get so antsy about me doing it openly. And make these feminist comments and, care for her. Dude, women don't care for shit. Women are nasty, psychopathic narcissists that care only for themselves. It's not their fault. It's biology, And it's been explained in writing and logically very well before. RawMukherjee.com, just check for the masculinity posts. You'll find it. And we'll add the masculinity, but you can type it into the search bar. I'm going to add a little checkbox and to make it easier. So much to do, so little time, and so much coffee to drink. And, I care about her too much to do that. Let me be very brutally honest here. And, I'm willing to debate this. I'm willing to logically talk about this, provided these guys will actually logically respond to what I'm saying and not just ignore. She doesn't care about you. Stop providing. Then see how much she cares. She's going to forget everything in less than a New York minute. It's that simple. In less than a Ma'am Danny minute. I guess that's his name. Danny, Ma'am Danny. Fucking lunatic. But, New York City, it's so sad what's happened, over the past few years. And Ma'am Danny is just going to completely ruin it. Trump was right. Cut off federal funding. I don't know if he'll be able to do that. But, I told him that, and, this is what I don't get, These same guys, prior to marriage, were at least a little different. They were never as brutally honest as I was. They were still, kind of cocked and all that. And, dude, the fact is, if you could get plenty of women, you claim you do, I've got the results and the proof, and most people, he hasn't seen it, most have. Then he'll cope by saying they're over the hill this, or they're, too young, or there's always a problem. But the fact is, he can't get them. Simple. Then he's like, I believe in traditional marriage, Such gay garbage, and he's not the only one. You look at all these so-called Christians on the internet. I believe in one wife, a happy life, all this other happy wife, happy life, which is total garbage. Satisfied husband, prosperous life is the way it is. But, you know, all these wife jacks, these Christian wife jacks that, moral, upstanding garbage. I believe in traditional marriage. Dude, traditional is what ultimately is what works biologically, and men are meant to be polygamous, and there's a biological reason for that. And it holds true as true today, and most men just don't acknowledge it. So I asked this guy this question, and he's like, "No, I would never sleep with. I would never. Typical emotional laden rant." While his woman, years ago, she showed up with me to complain about him not giving him her money or something, and I was like, leave me the fuck out of it. I mean, I didn't say it that way, but because that's his girlfriend and she's his, boy, not even God interferes between husband and wife. I'll tell you what they say in India: "Miyan biwi ke beech mein kaun kya bol sakta hai?" It's that simple. Yet so many people try to. I mean, if it's that kind of thing, I don't want to get involved. But she came to me because she knew, and uh, you know this same girl has cheated with another, not cheated, but another lunatic. He did all kinds of nasty stuff with her. This guy knows it. He doesn't give two. It doesn't make any sense. If my girl, any of these girls I've been with, there was even, you know what? I was always the pinned guy at the top of their WeChats. I was always, Ashley, that girl you've heard so much about. Ashley used to be like, "You can check my phone. I don't talk to any other guys." And I didn't even check it. I'm like, I know you don't talk to any other guys. I'm that guy. Why would you? I'm the best. And, I don't want to check her phone. Of course, she talked to cocks. And the minute she talked to a cock, she wouldn't let me check because that was all emotional. And I snatched her phone one day anyway, and I checked it. And she was like, don't listen to that. It was an audio note. That guy was a cock. Victor, his name was. I will name and shame him because he's not going to be watching this guy, this gala rant, he's not going to be watching, and plus, he's not a victor. He's a complete loser. I once asked him who controls the finances in your house. He's like, "My wife wears the pants." He told me this. He said this. Yeah. So all these Christian guys, so-called moral, upstanding guys, I guarantee you, if they could get the girls, then they would. But they can't. Every man, and you don't believe me? Go ask women. I told this guy to go ask his, woman that. He won't do it. Yes, ask a woman. Women know very well that a man will cheat I don't cheat because it's very open. But will sleep with other women by default. That's why they cut you and make you fat and make you, remove the very qualities that made you desirable as a mate after marriage, because then they're no longer interested in you. Then they're interested in your, making you a human ATM. That's just how it is. I mean, you got to be a complete doofus and a moron and an idiot to even, not. So, women will tell you this, but they don't want to ask them. They just want to cope by saying, "Oh, this is a nasty misogynist. This is a that. This is a this. This is a that." It's not about that, brother. That's what they do. That's what they fucking do. And I told this, go. I told him every man wants multiple women. And if they shout at you saying it's nasty, it's this, it's that, they're not being honest. And more importantly, they can't get them themselves. Have you ever seen, let me ask you another question. Have you ever seen a guy that could get multiple women but doesn't? No, you haven't. It doesn't exist. I mean, show me examples. I guarantee you, if you can, and you may be able to show me examples, but I'll find a flaw in their character and I'll very logically dissect it. Character, outlook, demeanor, whatever. That doesn't, the women don't, it's that simple. So this is why I talk on the internet, because when you have people denying the most objective of reality, when you have people that said the complete opposite just a few years ago, when you have people that it's my way or the highway, feminism, when you have people that refuse to be logical and go on emotional tirades about like she cares about me. This is the same guy who made comments about her once. She doesn't do shit, is what he told me. Because maybe he was ranting, but they don't. And my point also why I talk on the internet is simple. If you ask me a question, let me answer it. Now, let me answer it doesn't mean I spend my time and energy answering it and you ignore it because it doesn't fit your cockholded narrative, your agenda. Okay? Uh, then by extension, you gotta, and then if you ignore it, well, I'll talk. And it's simple. Don't ask me. And we'll finish this off because I guess I'm running out of time. I don't know. It's almost, I got to do my splits, but we'll do them later. I got plenty of time. I'm already through, I think, over plenty of squats and plenty of push ups. I just got my pull ups to do. And, then you got all these on a fitness angle, these trolls and, don't talk about, and they'll send me emails personally, They'll keep sending me these emails, and sometimes I'll respond, once or twice, I'll respond, and then after that, I keep getting these trolly emails, I keep getting these emails, and again, like I said, it's not a good day around here if a whole bunch of people don't stay pissed at me, because the more hate, you should have, ideally, 90% hate and 10% real love, Most people don't even have the hate, and then they wonder why they don't succeed, why nobody talks about them, why they're not that guy, walking down the road and this and that, and number one, because the ring of truth, you can't disguise it. Anything I've said in this video, I'm perfectly open to sit down logically and, discuss it. But, the other side doesn't want to talk logically. And nobody wants to admit it because it's all ultimately boils down to a feminist cocked narrative. And, it's just, yeah, you can't talk to people like that, but you have all these people emailing me about this. It's like I get literally so many emails I can't even read. But some of these people will why don't you talk to me directly? Well, this is why I don't talk to you directly. All of what I just said. Because you refuse to acknowledge any sort of objective reality. You are a complete and rank hypocrite. And, all these people are usually, number one, fat and out of shape. It's a common thread. They can't do pull-ups. They think they're so big that they can lift you up and, they think martial artists are idiots, I mean, lift you up. You think Bruce Lee is just going to stand there and let you lift you up? No, he's going to kick you in the fucking temple or a certain point on the neck, which Dr. Mukherjee, MD, will not mention. It's a secret of mine, kind of like the liver punch. Ever been liver punched anyway? I'm not going to go there, but these guys will say, oh, you can liver punch me, and dude, the strongest of guys, it's like kicking you in the nuts, except in a different manner. But anyway, So, there's a common thread with all these guys, and they're all wife jacks, they're feminists, they all listen to their wives. My wife had this opinion too. Her opinion is garbage anyway, because, ask her to back it up logically, she won't be able to. It's born out of self preservation. Not preservation for you, preservation for her. Why do you think, they have all these kids? Because, that's their biological imperative, and most of them will go off of birth control if the guy says he doesn't want kids at that point in time. Nobody will admit it. These are the same sort of guys, and I want to finish this off by saying it. Again, fitness wise, I said, if you don't believe me, look at other guys, look at other doers, look at other achievers, look at other fucking, they all do the same thing. Again, common thread. They all have the same habits. Not all of them. Not everybody drinks 35 cups of extra strong black coffee like I do. But my point is this. So, with regard to what we were talking about with this dude, it's simple. Look at guys, look at other examples, of how the system is just so hopelessly beyond any fucking hope. Uh, it, I don't know how stupid. You look at all these very public cases that have been, any remotely masculine man is attacked by the system. You want me to name Conor McGregor, I mean, that was just the one I read yesterday. Apparently, she took back consent. And how the fuck can you take back consent? But these are the same guys that will not call women out for sleeping willingly with somebody 10 years ago. Then 10 years later, they decide they want to take back consent or consent, actually. I like to, pronounce things the French way. Habib is part French, I guess, I remember, Mark the African silverback gorilla. And by the way, he's totally white. I mean, it was like, balcony and, like balcony. And he was like, no, balcony. Is that how you pronounce it? And by the way, this guy is a native, Canadian. There's no English issues already. He told me once, you're not like any other Indian I know. He's speaking, he thought I was white. We were eating pizza one day, and he was like, look at me, and he thought I was white. Essentially, didn't think I was white. He knew I wasn't, but obviously, but the way I talk and all this, and everybody says that white man trapped in an whatever Habib body, whatever. But it's not about that. But so I was like, yeah, it's balcony. But in French, and a lot of words in English come from French. A lot of them come from Hindi. A lot of them come, main sahib and all these, sahib because of the British colonial era. English is the, global lingua franca. Even now, English and Spanish. Spanish has many words from because, it's been all over the globe. And so that's just what it is. Sometimes, so consent, these are the same guys that support this garbage. So, why do I talk on the internet? I know every 15 minutes in this video I've gone on for, I think I've ranted enough, and I think y'all have got something out of this rant. I highly encourage you to talk on the internet, not just for practical purposes, but only, and if and only, your points make logical sense. And let me tell you, if you're 99% of people watching this or people on the internet, your opinion doesn't deserve to be heard. I'm not saying you shouldn't say it or should or shouldn't, freedom of speech. We can all say, but your opinion is illogical. It ignores all sorts of objective reality, and it should not be heard because it's total garbage. I mean, nobody wants to listen to garbage, right? That's why, and, the same trope, in my family, this, that. It's simple. They don't want a man talking, speaking the truth. On the rare occasions the woman does it, it's all well and good and acceptable. Oh, she's being honest. But when a man is being honest, nobody wants to listen to his side of it. Nobody, they all want to interrupt. They want to, because it's again that same feminism thing, and you know why I don't. That's why I don't talk to a lot of people. I mean, most people. I ignore most people. That's why I talk on the internet. That's why, to answer this guy's question, it's been such a long time. You didn't, I was wondering what the hell you're up to. Because, what am I going to talk to you about? You're not into fitness. You're not into, you'll say you're into fat boy fitness. I don't. I mean, that's fine, but I don't agree with that, and it's not the right way, and you know that. You're into feminism. You're a wife jack. You're a cock. What am I going to talk to you about? I mean, birds of a feather flock together. No pun intended. And that's why every time I'm sick and tired of every time men getting the short end of the stick and being guilty by default. Whatever the fuck happened to innocent until proven guilty, huh? I mean, whatever the fuck happened to logic, facts. I'm sick and tired of it, and that's why I talk on the internet. Because at least on the internet, you can point out facts, okay? And the other person can't shut you up. On text messages, you can write facts, the other person can't shut you up. On any other one-on-one, they can ignore you, they can waste your time, they can do this, they can do that, but they can't do that. And plus, y'all love me. I'm sexy, handsome, charismatic, intelligent. Everybody hates me showing my lovely chest off and the chest hair, Everybody hates it, but I do it anyway, you can't really stop that, and you can threaten to take what channels got banned, all that ban story. Just research it. We got a beautiful new search feature on the websites, or one of them, and you'll get the full fucking story. The last one wasn't really working that well. It was 90% dead. This one is like it's a winner. It's gold. 99.9% there. So to research it, we got banned, this and that. They can do that, but we get back on. I'm sick and tired of masculine men not having their voice heard, and I'm sick and tired of and this is why I'm like this is why. Okay, why do I talk on the internet? Well, that's why I talk on the internet, and I hope this answers the question. I think I've said why do I talk on the internet about 10 times already, if I've not lost count, which I likely have, but my first guess is always right, so probably. Therapeutic, maybe. That's another really, because you can't talk to people these days. It's not just these days. I've never really, and it's got nothing to do with me. And, it does. I'm extremely logical and coldly analytical, and most people can't handle those facts, Last but not least, you have bozos that'll point out facts about you. They'll only point out your so-called, let me say so-called, weak points, okay? So-called. Because if you're a real man, you'll strengthen those weak points and they won't be weak points anymore, except you're not going to show it to them. Okay? Then they'll say, oh, when you tell him this fact, well, what about all the facts I told you? But they'll just start yelling. They're never going to acknowledge it, And, that's why. There's no goose and gander. There's no concept of any, logic remotely. People talk a lot about, I did this video on a 9mm and my 9.2-inch dong, and, he wants to kill. But I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want to do anything. I'm a cowboy. Leave me alone. I'll leave you alone. Like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy. You wouldn't even know he lived there. But and he had these big ass steel doors, which you had to literally pull open like that, and And so you had to go through a lot to get to him. But once you get to it, that motherfucker will be out with his chainsaw. I'm kind of like that. All the time people whine about, his dark room, this and that. My dark videos I did, people keep whining about, why do you sit in the dark? It's always, well, the dark is where you find yourself, the dark is where you manifest. And I like darkness, I like light too. I'm so sexy. So now I should bet, I did all these dark videos. I had an idiot telling me, if you feel the need to film yourself in the dark, yeah, why do you care? I felt the need, so I did it. It's got nothing to do with you, you know. Uh, if you ask me why, I'll tell you, but you know why, so you won't ask because it points out your own brutal flaws and weaknesses. Uh, you know, but I'm more of a Dr. Lecter kind of guy. Dr. Mukherjee is more like a Dr. Lecter kind of guy. And by the way, I'll show you the actual MD too if you want it. I just hadn't showed it to anybody until now. But, not that those degrees aren't worth shit. All doctors do is they're fat and gay and they read out of a textbook. A third grader could do that. They're worthless and they're being replaced by AI anyway. And most mainstream medical advice is total tosh anyway. These guys die of heart attacks and complain about me. I mean, what are you going to say? They say I'm going to die by, X and Y age. And I never use the word die, but that's what they said, but I didn't pass and I don't intend upon, and I'm not going to. And anybody, look at my pink lips, my rosy cheeks, all of that shit. But, it ain't going to happen. Um, but I'm more like if they come and bother me to that extent, then yeah, sometimes I'll go full Monty. But sometimes I'll just trigger people and future benefit. Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy didn't think of future benefit. He had a fucking chainsaw and he just cut him in half. You had bodies hanging, literally organs and viscera and blood flowing all over the place. The bodies were half chopped up. If you look at the movie, it was like kind of, it was like, you had women in the freezer. Anyway, and that's not, just that. I mean, it's been done in many cultures. Bollywood has done movies like that. You just get, white people are attacked. So that's why, the movie gets so much hate and all that. But it was a major rip-roaring success. Farm Boy Hands, man, that motherfucker was big. And he wasn't that fat either, so he could probably do rock out pull-ups. I respect that. These big, truly big guys, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, back in his day, now he's fat, that's fine. Vince Gironda, I cannot say, pull-ups wise, I know Goggins, he's the world record holder and all that, but Gironda, he was a pioneer back in his day. Big ass motherfucker, big chest, big arms, all this, and he rocked out pull-ups. Letter perfect form. I respect that. And every man respects that. Physical fitness is respected. You see a dude walking down the road, you automatically react to him differently, you respect him differently. Simply due to that. Without even knowing the guy. You don't even know the dude, but you respect to him differently, You talk to him differently, you react, and men know at the end of the day, everything's going to come down to physical violence. Men know this very well. With women, they know you're not really, at least most men are not really going to smack him on the head. With the guy, it's like get in the fucking ring, and they can sense it. If you don't tell them that, they'll sense it, So when you're fit, when you're into, martial arts, this and that, but even you don't have to be a pro fighter or, you have to have the willingness to fight. And extreme fitness routines give you the fucking willingness to fight. Why do you think I fought for so many years for, against everything? And continue to. I don't need to. I don't need to go on long rants like this and make anti-feminist because it's not going to change much. At least, it's not going to change, how the vast majority of world, it may change a few people's lives, which, like Jeff Bezos, if I can even change, or Emerson also said that, Ralph Waldo Emerson, I know I'm very prosaic, I'm very eloquent, I'm a fantastic speaker, as even my haters say and all this. Ralph Waldo Emerson, he was like, if I can even change one person's life, then I consider it my job done. And a lot of you faggots don't want to read it, but you should read what he said. It's all free and it's all very applicable. I keep quoting the guy. I don't get anything for it. No money. I keep quoting Napoleon Hill, Claude Bristol, these guys, but you guys need to read those books. I mean, those guys make a lot of fucking sense. Like Mark said about me, you make a lot of fucking sense. Why do I talk on the internet? People have TikTok brains, so I gotta keep reminding you every 15 minutes what this video is about. 99.9% of the people will look at this video and the length, which has gone over for 1 hour now. I don't know how much longer we'll go. And 99 and the 0.01% of people that will actually click through, they'll do it because of a sexy ass thumbnail, me. And the 0.001% of people that'll actually listen to this, those are the kind of guys I'm after, They're not after as in Hannibal Lecter after, but I mean, that's So, I don't know, I could speak all day. Why do I talk on the internet and a lot more? That's why. And Habib porn star, Dr. Mukherjee, whatever you call me, will be back later. And he may be back with his, I'm not going to. Anyway, see you all later.